The janitor's cart crashed to the floor as she stumbled back, clutching her swollen belly, her eyes wide with shock and pain. Al-Fayez, young, arrogant, and used to getting everything he wanted, had just shoved her aside in a moment of reckless entitlement. The room fell silent. The hum of the hospital's fluorescent lights felt deafening as the security cameras caught the scene. People gasped, whispering behind gloved hands. No one spoke, but the pregnant woman's gaze met Adam's, a mixture of hurt and disbelief that cut through his arrogance like a knife. And then, in the silence, a man's voice boomed from the doorway. "Adam, do you realize who she is married to?" Adam froze, the words sinking in like ice water. 2 weeks earlier, Adam had been attending a charity gala in New York. The Al-Fayez family had donated millions to hospitals and clinics across the city. But Adam, impatient and entitled, often skipped the moral underpinnings of the events he attended. That night, he had noticed a janitor working quietly in the background, ensuring everything ran smoothly, her calm efficiency unnoticed by the crowd. Her name was Monique Harris, and she was heavily pregnant, moving carefully, avoiding collisions in the crowded hall. He had barely acknowledged her existence, until now. Back in the hospital corridor, the realization hit him like a punch. Monique's husband was none other than Zayd Malik, a former Special Forces operative turned private security consultant, a man whose reputation for precision, intelligence, and uncompromising authority was legendary. Zayd wasn't just any man, he was respected, feared, and utterly capable. Adam's act of reckless arrogance had crossed a line he didn't even know existed. Monique steadied herself against the wall, gripping the edge of the counter, her breathing uneven. "Sir." It's fine," she said softly, but Adam noticed the strain in her voice. There was no anger in her words, only the quiet dignity of someone wronged, someone aware of their own worth. Adam's mind raced. He had grown up in the lap of wealth, shielded by power, accustomed to bending people to his will without consequence. Yet now, in this sterile corridor, surrounded by the hum of machines and the distant cries of newborns, he felt powerless. The woman he had shoved was not just anyone. She was married to a man whose presence commanded respect and demanded accountability. Minutes later, Zayd Malik arrived, his eyes sharp, scanning the corridor, stopping abruptly when he saw Adam. The younger man's usual charm faltered under the weight of Zayd's imposing calm. "You," Zayd said, voice controlled but laced with authority, "have no idea what you've done." Adam opened his mouth, ready to offer excuses, to hide behind wealth or arrogance, but no words seemed adequate. The truth was heavier than any inheritance, sharper than any threat. He had crossed the wrong person, and the consequences were immediate and undeniable. Adam swallowed, his chest tight, and for the first time, he truly felt the weight of accountability. Wealth, status, and family influence could not undo what had happened. Monique's hand rested protectively on her belly, and Adam realized that the life she carried, a life completely innocent and unaware, deserved more than a hasty apology. It deserved respect, protection, and justice. Zayd stepped closer, his gaze unwavering. "You will make this right," he said, not threatening, not shouting, but with the certainty of someone who could act decisively. Adam nodded, swallowing hard, feeling the reality of his mistake fully for the first time. The hospital corridor, once ordinary, had become a courtroom, a proving ground, and Adam had just learned a lesson wealth and arrogance could never teach. That night, Adam reflected on his actions. He couldn't undo the push, but he could act, with humility, with responsibility, with courage. The lesson was clear: power without conscience is meaningless, and even the smallest act of cruelty can ripple across lives in ways he could no longer ignore. The son of a billionaire had met the quiet force of integrity embodied in Monique and her husband, and for the first time, he realized that true strength lay not in wealth, but in moral courage and accountability. The next morning, Adam couldn't shake the memory of Monique's steady eyes and Zayd Malik's unwavering stare. He paced the sleek living room of his Manhattan penthouse, the city stretching endlessly below, and realized that no wealth, no influence, could erase the mistake he had made. For the first time, he understood that arrogance carried a price, and that lesson was now pressing down on him like the weight of a storm. He called Malik Idris, his father's trusted advisor, a man who had always guided him through business and social complexities. "Malik, I need advice," Adam said, voice tight with unfamiliar humility. "I crossed a line, a serious one. I don't know how to make it right." Malik's voice was calm but firm. "Adam, wealth and status may shield you from minor missteps, but they won't protect you from moral consequences. You need to act decisively, with sincerity. You cannot hide from Zayd Malik. He is a man of principle, and he will not tolerate excuses." Adam nodded slowly, absorbing the weight of responsibility. He realized that rectifying this wasn't about money, apologies, or public image. It was about trust, respect, and proving that he could take accountability. Later that day, Adam returned to the hospital, choosing humility over pride. Monique was preparing to start her shift again, her uniform crisp, her posture composed, but there was a wary distance in her eyes. Adam approached slowly, hands visible, keeping his voice calm. "Monique, I came to apologize properly," he said. "What I did was reckless, cruel, and entirely unacceptable. I want to make this right." Monique's gaze softened slightly, but caution remained. "I appreciate your words, Mr. Al-Fayez," she replied. "But actions speak louder. Respect isn't given because someone is rich. It's earned." Adam nodded, swallowing hard. "I understand. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for the chance to prove I can do better. To respect you, your child, and your family. Please, tell me how." Across the corridor, Zayd Malik observed silently, a protective shadow over his wife and unborn child. He didn't speak, but his eyes held Adam in a measured, assessing stare. Adam realized that gaining Zayd's respect would not be simple. The man was fearless, principled, and unyielding, someone whose approval had to be earned, not demanded. Over the next several days, Adam began making tangible changes. He volunteered at the hospital, assisting with operations, learning about the challenges staff faced daily. He listened to Monique's colleagues, absorbed her perspective, and faced his own ignorance about people who lived outside his world of wealth and privilege. Through each interaction, Adam's arrogance melted, replaced by empathy and determination. Monique saw his sincerity in action, not just in words, but in the effort, time, and accountability he demonstrated. Slowly, the distance between them began to shrink, though a tension lingered, a reminder of the incident that had started this transformation. One evening, as Adam helped Monique secure supplies in the janitorial office, Zayd appeared, leaning casually against the doorframe. Adam froze, unsure if confrontation or judgment would follow. Zayd's expression was unreadable for a long moment. Then he spoke, calm and precise. "You've shown initiative. I've been watching. Actions speak louder than apologies." Adam bowed his head slightly. "I'm willing to do whatever it takes, sir. I need to prove I can be trustworthy, responsible, and respectful of what you've built for your family." Zayd studied him silently, then gave a subtle nod. "Keep proving it. Not for me, but for yourself. Strength without integrity is worthless. Remember that." Adam's chest tightened. This was not a victory yet, but a first step. The lessons of humility, responsibility, and moral courage were beginning to root themselves in him. He realized that the incident had been more than a mistake. It had been a catalyst for growth, one that could transform him from a reckless heir into a man capable of true leadership. Over the next week, Adam dedicated himself entirely to understanding the life Monique led and the challenges she faced. He accompanied her through hospital rounds, helped organize supply rooms, and even stayed late to assist with administrative tasks that no one else noticed. Every step was deliberate, every gesture a statement that he was serious about change. The city outside sparkled with wealth and ambition, but inside the hospital, Adam discovered a world built on quiet courage, resilience, and hard work, values money could never buy. Monique observed him with guarded skepticism. "You've changed your approach," she said one evening as they restocked cleaning supplies. "I see the effort. But why? Why risk your reputation and pride? Adam paused, considering his words. Because I realized arrogance isn't power. Power is responsibility. Respect isn't demanded, it's earned. And I don't want to be the kind of man who harms others without consequence. You, and Zayd, reminded me of that. Her eyes softened, though her caution remained. It will take time, she said. I can't just forget what happened. And Zayd, he's protective for a reason. You need to prove your sincerity, not just to me, but to him. Adam nodded. He had already realized that earning Zayd's respect would be the hardest challenge. The man wasn't easily impressed. He valued strength, principle, and integrity above all else. And Adam had failed all three the first time they met. That night, Adam called Malik Idris. I need advice. I want to demonstrate my sincerity, but Zayd Malik is not someone who easily trusts wealth or apologies. Malik's voice was calm, guiding. Actions speak louder than words. Continue assisting, continue learning, continue protecting them. Show that your intent is pure. Respect their boundaries, and your growth will be evident. Power without empathy is meaningless. Empathy without action is hollow. Adam absorbed the wisdom, determined to act. Days later, a crisis emerged that tested Adam's resolve. A delivery truck carrying sensitive medical supplies had an accident, blocking the hospital's main entrance. Staff were scrambling, patients were anxious, and tempers flared. Without hesitation, Adam sprang into action. He coordinated staff, cleared debris, and even lifted boxes himself, sweating and straining alongside nurses and janitors. Monique, watching him, felt a flicker of surprise and respect. Zayd Malik appeared on the scene, assessing the chaos, and noticed Adam's tireless efforts. He approached quietly, observing Adam until finally, with measured authority, he spoke, "You're proving yourself, slowly, but meaningfully. Remember, true responsibility is measured by consistency, not spectacle." Adam met his gaze steadily. I understand. I will continue, every day, until my actions match my words. For the first time, Zayd nodded slightly, not as a concession, but as recognition. The walls of distrust were slowly crumbling. Adam realized that change was not instantaneous. It was earned through endurance, humility, and moral courage, lessons that money and status could never teach. As night fell, Adam reflected on the week. The arrogant, entitled man who had shoved Monique just days ago no longer existed. In his place stood someone willing to confront mistakes, accept accountability, and fight to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. The city's neon glow seemed different now, sharper, more honest, as if reflecting the internal transformation he was undergoing. Monique glanced at him, quietly acknowledging the shift. Zayd, watching from a distance, remained cautious but visibly less tense. Adam understood that the journey wasn't over, but the first steps toward earning trust, respect, and redemption had been taken. The pendant of accountability, the lesson of that moment in the corridor, was now embedded in every action he took, guiding him with a steady hand toward a future where power and responsibility were inseparable. The following morning, Adam received a call that threatened to undo all the progress he had made. A journalist had caught wind of the incident at the hospital and was threatening to publish a story that would portray him as the arrogant billionaire's son who assaulted a pregnant janitor. The news would spread like wildfire, twisting the truth, and potentially endangering Monique and her family. Adam felt the familiar pang of panic, but it was tempered by a new resolve. He knew that running, hiding, or trying to buy silence would only deepen the breach of trust. This time, he had to face the situation directly, transparently, and morally. He immediately contacted Monique and Zayd, explaining the situation. Monique's eyes widened. "If that story comes out, Adam, it won't just be your reputation. It could put us all at risk." Adam nodded. "I know. And that's why I'm taking full responsibility. I will speak publicly if necessary. I won't hide behind money or privilege. You've taught me that true strength is in accountability." Zayd studied him, expression unreadable, then finally said, "Then you will prove it. Words mean little. Actions matter. Protect her. Protect her family. Ensure they face no harm from this." Adam organized discreet measures. He secured Monique's home, coordinated with hospital security, and ensured that every potential threat from media misrepresentation was neutralized. He also requested a private meeting with the journalist to present the truth and show his genuine remorse, offering transparency rather than bribes or silence. The journalist, initially eager for scandal, was taken aback by Adam's sincerity, the depth of his accountability, and the measures he had taken to safeguard Monique. By the end of the meeting, the story shifted, from sensationalized outrage to a narrative highlighting Adam's responsibility, transformation, and the lessons of humility, empathy, and moral courage. A week later, Adam returned to the hospital. Monique and her daughter were safe, their lives uninterrupted by scandal. Zayd greeted him with a nod, a silent acknowledgement that trust was being rebuilt. Adam knelt briefly before Monique, not out of submission, but as a gesture of respect. "I cannot undo the past," he said quietly, "but I can protect the present and the future. I promise to act responsibly, not because of fear, but because it is right. Your family deserves nothing less." Monique's expression softened, a mixture of relief and cautious hope. "Actions speak louder than words," she replied. "You're proving that, Adam. Don't let it stop now." Adam realized that the incident, once a moment of shame and recklessness, had become a crucible, a test of character, empathy, and moral courage. He had discovered that true power was not in wealth or status, but in the ability to protect, to act rightly, and to take responsibility even when it is inconvenient or uncomfortable. By the evening, Adam sat in his car outside the hospital, looking at the city lights, reflecting on the transformation. The arrogant son of a billionaire had learned a lesson in humility, integrity, and the value of human dignity. Monique and her family had taught him that courage could manifest in both extraordinary and everyday acts, and that protection of the innocent was a responsibility far greater than any inheritance. The storm had passed, but the lesson remained. Power is meaningless without conscience, influence is hollow without integrity, and true respect is earned through action, not privilege. 2 days later, Adam arranged to meet Zayd Malik in a private, neutral location, a quiet rooftop garden overlooking the city skyline. The sun was setting, casting golden light over the skyscrapers, a symbol of both power and clarity. Adam approached with measured steps, aware that every word, every gesture, mattered. Zayd waited calmly, arms crossed, his presence as imposing as ever. "Adam," he said, voice low but steady, "I've been watching your actions. The way you handled the media, protected Monique, and accepted responsibility. It's notable. But there is one final test." Adam's pulse quickened. "I'm ready, sir. Tell me what needs to be done." Zayd's eyes, sharp and discerning, scanned the city below. There are those who would still see Monique and her family harmed, either by scandal, manipulation, or greed. You must ensure they are safe. This is not about apologies or public perception. This is about accountability and foresight. Adam nodded. "I understand. I will leave nothing to chance." That evening, Adam coordinated discreet security measures, ensuring Monique's home and the hospital were monitored and protected. He personally oversaw arrangements, showing Zayd that he could act decisively, morally, and effectively. He also met privately with key hospital administrators to ensure Monique faced no retaliation, and that her dignity and safety were preserved. By nightfall, Zayd observed from a distance, finally allowing himself to relax slightly. Adam had not only protected Monique, he had demonstrated growth, integrity, and true responsibility. It was a quiet but monumental shift. The reckless billionaire's son had transformed into someone who understood the weight of power and the obligation it carried. The next day, Adam returned to the hospital, carrying a small gift, a bouquet of lilies, a simple gesture to Monique, acknowledging both her patience and dignity. "This isn't for forgiveness," he said softly. "It's a reminder that respect is not just a word, it's an action, and it's yours every day. Monique smiled faintly, accepting the flowers. Thank you, Adam. I see that you're sincere. That matters more than anything else. Zayd stepped forward, finally breaking his calm reserve. Adam, you've proven your sincerity and your capacity for responsibility. Remember this lesson. Power is not measured by wealth or influence. It is measured by integrity, courage, and the protection of those who cannot defend themselves. Adam nodded, absorbing the words. For the first time, he felt not only relief, but pride in a way that wealth could never provide. He had learned that respect was earned through accountability, that true courage involved protecting others, and that the lessons of humility could transform even the most entitled heir. By evening, the storm had fully passed. Monique and her daughter were safe, Zayd's respect had been earned, and Adam had discovered a deeper sense of purpose. The incident, once a source of shame and recklessness, had become a crucible, forging him into someone capable of wielding wealth, influence, and power with moral clarity and courage. The city below sparkled like a canvas of possibility, and Adam realized that his legacy would not be defined solely by fortune or name, but by the integrity and protection he could offer to those who needed it most. The lesson was permanent, clear, and transformative. True power lies in action guided by conscience, not entitlement. The morning sun filtered through the hospital windows, casting warm light on the corridor where Adam stood beside Monique and Zayd. The tension that had gripped the past week was finally easing, replaced by a sense of cautious peace. Adam's transformation was complete. The reckless arrogance of the billionaire's son had given way to humility, responsibility, and moral courage. Adam turned to Zayd. I've learned more than I ever expected, he admitted. That true strength isn't wealth, it isn't power, it's accountability, courage, and protecting those who cannot protect themselves. I will continue to act with integrity, not for recognition, but because it is the right thing to do. Zayd studied him, nodding slowly, a faint trace of approval in his gaze. You've proven that today, Adam. Remember, the world tests everyone who has influence. What defines you is how you respond when the stakes are highest. Monique smiled softly, a quiet acknowledgement of Adam's growth. She touched her belly protectively, knowing that her family's safety had been ensured not by wealth alone, but by someone who had chosen to act rightly. Actions speak louder than apologies, she said gently. You've shown that yours are genuine. The incident that had begun with fear, arrogance, and recklessness now concluded with justice, protection, and mutual respect. Adam realized that this lesson was far more valuable than any inheritance or status. True power, he understood, was not in controlling others, but in using influence responsibly to defend, uplift, and preserve dignity. The city hummed below, unaware of the quiet transformation that had taken place within its streets and corridors. Adam, Monique, and Zayd stood together, a subtle symbol that strength and compassion could coexist, that courage and integrity could reshape lives, and that even mistakes rooted in privilege could become catalysts for redemption. Adam looked at Monique and her daughter, then back at Zayd. I cannot undo the harm I caused, he said softly, but I can ensure it is never repeated, and that you are always safe. That is my responsibility, my commitment, and my honor. Zayd nodded, the faintest smile crossing his face. Good. Now you understand. Respect, accountability, and moral courage, that is the true measure of a man. As Adam walked away, he felt a profound sense of purpose. The lesson was clear, the growth irreversible. Wealth and status could open doors, but integrity, courage, and accountability would shape a legacy. Monique watched him go, a quiet relief washing over her. Her family was safe. Justice had been restored. And the arrogant son of a billionaire had been transformed into a man capable of wielding influence with honor. The city skyline shimmered in the afternoon light, a testament to lessons learned, wrongs corrected, and the enduring power of conscience over entitlement. True power is not measured by wealth, titles, or influence. It is measured by how one acts in moments of responsibility, how courage is applied to protect the vulnerable, and how integrity guides decisions when no one is watching. Al-Fayez's journey illustrates that mistakes, even those born of arrogance, can become catalysts for profound growth when met with accountability, humility, and moral courage. Respect, dignity, and protection of the innocent define true leadership. Influence without conscience is hollow. Wealth without responsibility is meaningless. The son of a billionaire learned that real legacy is not inherited. It is earned through actions that uplift, protect, and honor the lives of others, proving that redemption, integrity, and justice are the true marks of power.